sent you.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
Welcome back, everyone. 31 after the hour. And if you've been following the show, you know we've been reporting from the Buckeye State, the state of Ohio, America's seventh largest state and a major electoral prize, and the plethora of groups, it seems now, that are fighting to change marijuana laws in Ohio. One group, the cartel monopolists, seem to be getting all the ink, and so I feel it's our duty to expose and give people a chance to hear from the other groups involved who have much better plans, if you ask me. Joining us by telephone today to discuss one of these groups is John Pardee. He's the executive director of the Ohio Rights Group. John, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Russ. I really appreciate it.
Oh, so tell us about the Ohio Rights Group and what it is you're planning on for the state of Ohio.
Well, we are actually, the group in Ohio that's actually furthest along. We've been at this trying to get our Ohio Cannabis Rights Amendment on the ballot in Ohio since the middle of 2013. We have 150,000 signatures to date, and we need to get 305,000 valid signatures of registered Ohio voters in order to qualify for the ballot. Obviously, Responsible Ohio has come along now, and they're going to be nipping at our heels because they've got the funding, from a handful of shadowy millionaires, and so they're going to be able to, not have any trouble qualifying for the ballot. But our amendment is the people's amendment. It was written, by the people, for the people of the state of Ohio. Their amendment was written by an attorney, with business interests, and I've read that document, and it's all a business plan. It's not an amendment that codifies rights for citizens in the state of Ohio, and it just locks up the industry in Ohio for generations to come. So the one good thing that they've done when they've showed up is they've energized the state. I've seen a lot of cannabis activist groups now starting to rally behind Ohio Rights Group because they know we're the only ones that can stop them, and we've got the statewide network. We've got already the signatures in the bank to well on our way to qualify for the ballot, and so it's going to be, true David and Goliath, thing going on here in Ohio this year, with their millions versus our all volunteer army.
Mm-hmm. So, John, tell us some of the details of the Ohio Rights Group amendment that you've got at least a third of the signatures you need for already.
Yeah, our amendment is beautifully written. It's 1,800 words. It's very brief. It's 2 1/3 pages, and it's all about establishing the rights of the citizens in the state of Ohio to possess and to grow and to sell and to use cannabis, medicinally, and also to allow Ohio farmers to grow industrial hemp, which is huge here in Ohio because we're a giant agricultural state. So this gives us an opportunity to really turn the Ohio economy around and provide patients with safe access to this quality medicine. So ours is all rights-based and versus the business model that was established by this other group. And the more we educate the voters and the activists in the state of Ohio, the more they see that our plan is really for the people, and that's why we think this is important, the work that we're doing.
Okay, so we are talking about just a medical and industrial hemp amendment, though, nothing for the people who aren't suffering from debilitating conditions.
Well, no, not just yet, but we've never seen here in the United States where a state has gone from nothing, to full legal. Every state's usually kind of dipped their toe in the water with medical first, and once the voting public realizes the sky's not going to fall, then they kind of get more comfortable and start looking at the possibility of opening up to responsible adult use. Ohio's a purple state, and polling in Ohio is very favorable for medicinal. It's polling in the upper 80% range, where full responsible adult use is polling in the mid 50s, which anybody knows anything about politics is you need to be polling a lot higher than that, because the minute you try to put something like that on the ballot, the forces who are against legalization will plow some money into that and knock those numbers down below 50%. You're going to lose. So we think we're actually, the best fit for the state of Ohio at this time.
It sounds like a wise and measured approach. So comparing with other state medical marijuana laws, what are some of the particulars as far as can patients grow their own plants? What are some of the qualifying conditions? Are there limits on possession and so forth? Will there be dispensaries for that matter?
Yeah, the qualifying conditions are listed on our amendment. If anyone goes to our website, OhioRightsGroup.org, they can see the full language and the summary. But it does permit personal grows and for caregivers and things like that. So that's one thing that you don't have in the other group. They're excluding growing opportunities in the state of Ohio and limiting it to just these 10 millionaire investor groups. Ironically enough, if they're successful, what's going to happen here in the state of Ohio, even if federal law softens and allows for personal grows, we will still be prohibited by state law by their amendment. So that's why we're fighting so hard. But it establishes the Ohio Cannabis Control Commission, which is a nonpartisan, transparent, self-funded group that will enact the rights that have been established in this amendment. And the intent is to provide and create an industry that is it gives anybody an opportunity. If anybody with a green thumb and a business mind is able to provide for their families and grow quality medicine, that's what my son wants to do. My son was in a near fatal car accident several years ago, and he went through the whole pill mill thing and started using cannabis medicinally to the point where he didn't want to be a criminal, so he moved out to California. He spent 2 years out in California, and he became an expert grower out in California. And his bud was revered up on Big Bear Mountain, and he loved what he was able to do. And it's something he wants to do back in his home state in Ohio. And other growers here in the state of Ohio want to have that same opportunity, and they will not have that opportunity with the other amendment. They will just be hourly employees working in a 300,000 square foot warehouse.
Yeah. Well, we're speaking with John Pardee with the Ohio Rights Group proposing it's a constitutional amendment, correct?
That's correct.
A constitutional amendment for medical marijuana that is whole plant medical marijuana with the personal right to grow. And that's so refreshing to hear, John, after seeing so many states east of us that are passing CBD only or dispensary only marijuana laws. That sounds like it's a very important plank to you.
Yeah, actually, we're happy that the Ohio legislature has finally introduced a very limited, kind of like a CBD only bill. It's an oil bill for kids with epilepsy and Dravet's, and we applaud them for that. But our people are calling their legislators and telling them, hey, that's fantastic, but that's just the first step. Because there's a lot of patients, Parkinson's patients, like my father who passed away from Parkinson's, and cancer patients and people with traumatic brain injuries and things like that who also need safe access. And so we're telling people, let your legislators know that this is a good first step, but this is only a first step. They got to keep pushing until all the rights have been restored.
All right. The Ohio Rights Group, you can find them at OhioRightsGroup.org. And I'm unclear, does the Ohio Rights Group amendment provide for a system of commercial dispensaries for medical marijuana?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ohio Cannabis Control Commission
That's
will
what that was.
establish that. And the one thing I'm hoping your listeners will understand is the fact that the other group, they're all funded by millionaires, shadowy millionaire investors, and ours is grassroots funding exclusively. So if anybody wants to see Ohio have an open and fair market, we encourage them to go to OhioRightsGroup.org and help us compete with these guys.
Absolutely. Now, there's not only Ohio Rights Group and Responsible Ohio, there's a bunch of other groups in Ohio as well that are working toward some sort of form of reform. Is there any sort of sense that with Responsible Ohio being this, 300-pound, 800-pound gorilla in the room, that maybe there should be a coalition of these other groups fighting for one amendment? And it sounds to me that yours is the furthest along. Perhaps that ought to be the one everyone gets behind.
Well, absolutely. Actually, we were invited to speak at a Central Ohio Normal meeting a few days ago. We were there in Responsible Ohio and a couple other initiatives that are just getting started. And it was kind of funny because afterwards the consensus was anything but responsible Ohio, by the activists. And people are recognizing that, and we're getting a lot of support. We're starting to get some people, blue chip individuals who are stepping up, attorneys and business owners and folks like that, saying, hey, how can I help? And so it's, we're pretty excited to start enjoying, that kind of support. And we're starting to also get the attention of some of the national advocacy groups that have come out against Responsible Ohio. And so we're hearing from them, and we're starting to engage them in talk. So we're hopeful that we're going to get the some support across the country to help Ohio, which is very pivotal. As goes Ohio, so goes the nation. So if we can do it right here in Ohio, we can encourage other states to initiate a rights-based approach and make it an open market for as our forefathers intended.
Yeah, John, I'm encouraged as well hearing that news, and it's odd how sometimes having a common enemy to go against can unite all sorts of disparate factions. And I'd thought of Ohio as being that's Peter Lewis country. This ought to be something that's near and dear. I know he's passed away, but it should be near and dear to his family, his estate, and maybe they'd want to throw some money with commas in it at your group. Help this out.
Money with commas, that's a good term. Yeah, we were brokenhearted when Mr. Lewis passed away. We actually had kind of a family connection, there in the Ohio Rights Group, and we were really, positioning ourselves to, present to him what our plan was when we lost him, and that was a gut punch. Obviously more so to his family, but it really, set us back, and but we're looking for other Peter Lewises out there, and we definitely need folks with the means to step up in a meaningful way, people who are more about freedom and free enterprise, who want to see this thing done right in Ohio. We're really encouraging those folks to contact us and help us out in a major way.
All right, folks, do it. If you've got some contacts in Ohio, let them know about the Ohio Rights Group. They're at ohiorightsgroup.org. John Pardee is their executive director. And I assume you guys have a Twitter, Facebook presence. Do you want to give those info out?
You're talking to the technosaur of the Ohio Rights Group. We do have Twitter. Our Facebook is if you just go Ohio Rights Group on Facebook, you can find us and like us. And I'm sure if you can go to our website, I think there you can find our Twitter feed. But I'm too old and too slow to figure all that stuff out. But we got young people who are doing that for us.
All right, somebody call the 22-year-old intern, and I'll get it all sorted out. Thank you, John, for joining us today, and thank you for fighting for Ohio.
Oh, thanks, Russ. Really appreciate the opportunity to spread the message.
All right. We got an anti-drug public service announcement today coming up. Spiders on drugs in Canada. That's right. Drugged out Canadian spiders. This should be good. And then when we come back, we've got the radical rant. Anything that ends contraband cannabis is worth voting for. This might be a little controversial, so stick around.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.